Welcome to the Sutherland Report. Privilege that you could join us. So I'm going to get straight into it this evening, as it's my evening, and I've got the wonderful privilege of having one of my closest friends on with me now, which is David Sumrall, and we will be discussing all things Jan 6 and his up and coming new film. David, my brother, how are you? Absolutely lovely to see you.
I am good, brother. I am ready for Christmas. How about you?
I'm just about ready for Christmas, I think. I've sort of tried to hold it off, if I'm very honest.
Well, I
But
tell you what, you know the old adage that it's slower than Christmas. I don't think that applies to anything anymore. Christmas was so fast this year. I mean, we were just getting over last Christmas, and here we are again. It seems like.
well, yeah, you you say quite a bit of wisdom in there because I mean, it does. Sometimes I think things are speeding up. Do you know what I mean? It does feel as though it's certain aspects of life are getting faster and faster and faster. So, David, I started off with a graphic that I'm just going to quickly flash up again and then come straight back to you. So, what's happening? What are you launching very, very soon?
The mother of all documentaries about January 6th, honestly, Mark. So you're looking at 3 years of evidence and research and interviews and community effort, within this small group of the J6 family. And we've come together with, AJ and Daniel and Jason and Paul and myself and Tommy and Gary. I mean, there's been some real contributors to this that aren't the mainstream guys, because the mainstream guys weren't there. These are all witnesses
Hmm.
that were there on January 6th, all but maybe one or two. But other than that, these are all people that have firsthand experience, their own video, their own freedom at stake and at risk, and the fight is even more real for those people inside the community. So it's not like a journalist perspective. It's an insider, and people say, well, you're biased or you're prejudiced. Well, no, we're witnesses. We saw it happen. And I think that takes it to a different level. So it's going to be an amazing 3-year evidentiary explosion of, police body cam footage, CCTV, public footage galore, many angles, many stories that are going to be touched on, a lot of very pertinent information. But as you know, like I do, Mark, when you see something in a chronological timeline, when you see it put together, everyone's seen this piece or that piece, and in your mind you can't even decide what time of day that happened or how it fits into the puzzle. And so to lay these pieces all out for people is going to be an amazing experience, brother.
Well, I think, I mean, there's nothing anyone else more credible than you in which to do this because this is your third piece of work because you writing history, which I had the privilege to be asked by you to contribute a few words. So thank you again for that. And
Absolutely.
then you released Bloody Hell last year, which you released as well. And now it's your final. Well, it's number three. It's not the final. I don't see this as the final thing. David, over the last sort of 6 weeks, 2 months, suddenly we've seen more film released. I mean, you've been watching a lot of, well, you've been watching this from day one in your privileged position, which you can explain
Mhm.
because that's the position you've been given. They've released stuff over the last 6 weeks. What has that done to the temperature in America? Has that woken any more people up? Where does this stand politically in the game that we know that is going on?
Well, you know me, I'm the pessimist slash optimist. It's a kind of funny
Mm,
water that we tread in, because we try to see things, and then we try to see things how other people see
mm,
things, and then we try to see things the way the people that want people to see things want people to see things, and why they do
mm,
what they do. So it's really a cross section. But I think we're up to 0.04% of we don't even have 1% of the 44,000 hours public yet. So, and I think that's last count pretty accurate. And look, when the powers that be say, look, we want to be transparent, we want to be 100% transparent, but we're only going to give you 95% of the video. That's 5% not transparent. And how much J6 information can you hide in 2,000 hours and 5% of 44,000? A whole lot. And, you know, to blur the faces, we've heard the lies back and forth. I see it as the big carrot on the stick, you know, that they keep dangling out for, you know, 3 years almost to the public. Oh, we're going to release it. We're not. We should. We can't. We will. We won't. We'll just put it out there, you know, raw, or we're going to blur images. You know, it's just a game that they play at our expense, and the people that are really paying for it are sitting in prison, or they've been destroyed, or their lives, or their families, or they're dead from suicide, you know, because they can't take this pressure. And that's why I can't understand, you know, what's wrong with these politicians and not seeing the human cost, the you know, yeah, freedom, all that stuff. I get it, but we have enough. We've had enough. The government footage is not the end all, fix all, cure all of anything. We have more public footage from the thousands of cell phone cameras going off that day, with sound, unlike the CCTV, with perspective, with a timeline, with a stamp, that you can add these stories together and get the truth. And, you know, Mark, from day one, I tried to stress to people on these shows and podcasts and stages that I've been, you know, privileged enough with that responsibility of telling people that I've had access to the government footage for a long time, all of it. I don't have to go to DC to look at it. I can get on my laptop right here and dig around as much as I want, because I got access through the lawyers working on these cases. I'm licensed through the DOJ. And what I've tried to tell people, because I can't show it, I can't publish it, or I'll go to jail. But I can tell you about it. And people seem to not want to hear the stories, you know, until they come from somebody with more than 20,000 followers or whatever. And to me, the travesty is, all I've tried to express is the J6 people are not lying to you. When they tell you how horrible it was, and they tell you that they were attacked by the police, and they tell you that they didn't start it, and they tell you what the FBI raids were like, and what the prisons like, and what the judges did, and what the prosecutors did, and what the juries did, all that's true. But I can verify their stories from January 6th with video. And I've said that from day one. And, you know, that's why the American Gulag Chronicles book was so important, to get their stories in their own hand to the public, because the media, the judges, the lawyers, nobody wanted them talking to the public, because these stories are true. And now that we've got just a little bit of taste of video evidence, people are in shock. And I think the population wise, maybe we have another 1% of America that's interested because of the drop, but maybe not. You know, maybe it's the same echo chamber, because they turned that channel a long time ago. The news cycle is fierce. And if there's not enough to draw them back in to overcome what they were taught for 3 years, then it's a wasted exercise. That's why this new film is so important to the J6 movement, period. It's the truth. It's more truth than most people can handle. It's going to be amazing to see the response, not just from the left, but from the right, who ignored it and tried to sweep it under the rug like so many others.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So let me tell you, Mark, 1,000 days after January 6th was our original deadline, that we were trying to set a goal to get J6 A True Timeline, or January 6th True Timeline film out. We did not make our goal. More information was coming out. One of the guys on our team was actively seeking more information for, you know, a government drop. So, you know how God works. You know, I'll be over here screaming, I'm ready to get this film out, but God's not ready. He said, not yet. There's more. So what it did, it allowed us a couple of more months, the discovery. And like you said, it's not necessarily just what's been, dropped from the government, but there's more and more public video, coming out all the time. There was the Sedition Hunters drop.
Yes.
There's been other, mines for us to mine from. So this film, dropping it now at the end of the year, it's going to be so much more powerful. So at 1,000 days after January 6th was October, 24th or whatever day that we released that last film. That last film, 1,000 Days of Terror, was a bailout movie because we had told everybody, hey, we're coming out with a film. It's going to be here October, what was it, 3rd or 24th, whatever it was.
It was, yeah.
And I said, here, let's do a short documentary that tells one story from January, the most important story to me, and it's how it started. What took a crowd from peaceful but angry to angry and violent. What made the day violent? What happened that changed things? Because we saw the ellipse and everyone was festive, celebratory, even though they didn't know what was going on, if they'll win or lose. They expected something to happen. They thought Trump to the rescue. They thought, hey, we're going to witness history. And instead they were attacked by the police. Nobody's ever shown how that happened, where that happened, who, where, when, how, is all in this 5-minute documentary. And I think it's a powerful way for people to, really digest how it started, what made them mad, and then how it progressed from the day. Because after that, who do you blame? Everybody's been shown the fight in the middle, but never how it started or who started it. And I think that's vital and critically important. When you learn there was no warning given, there were no exit routes given, there was no big loudspeaker saying clear the area, and yet they can put out a curfew notice. Oh, you must be in your hotel by 6 o'clock. Well, why didn't you just say, get off the grounds or you'll go to jail? What are you doing? Leave the premises. They could have done a lot of things different. That's just one. But this film will tile that together and kind of show what was inside, outside, in the Senate, House, what the police were saying and doing, the body cams, the CCTV. Like I said, it's a great mix.
But I would like to say to you and say publicly, because we remember when we did an interview on Jan 6, 2021, we are approaching the 3rd anniversary. I don't even want to say that. I want to say it because it's a statement of fact, but it's an unfortunate statement of fact, right? You and I have said this before, and I just want to say publicly, I'm not saying this to be clever, but every single thing that you said on January the 6th, 2021, you have personally been vindicated by. Because every single thing that you said to me on that day in a discussion is absolutely true. And how that has then unfolded to then suddenly be at this point when we are seeing body cam footage, tell me if I'm wrong, of then, a policeman, holding a smoke bomb, walking towards where all the patriots are on the steps. We are seeing then people firing. We're seeing them firing. This suddenly, people can't deny this. And of course, as you have discussed with me, the fact that you have put a timeline together vindicates every single person. And there is one particular individual I'm thinking of who seems like Mr. Main Street, totally respectable, upstanding member of American society. And the person is, and then he's turning around and going, we didn't start this. The police fired, the law fired on us.
That's right. That's right.
What are your thoughts? What do you
Well, I'll have to go back and watch. It was January 8th. I remember it took us a day to drive home.
Yeah.
The next morning, I probably had 3 or 4 hours sleep. And we got on there and did that interview. I'll have to go back and watch. I do believe that I probably got a lot right. I know it was emotional. I know that everybody that was there, witnessed, that saw what I saw, witnessed some and, the conversations with the people afterwards that were even closer or inside, and all the things, all our friends that were there. So we started collecting that information. Like I said, we had, friends and employees even that, were, facing the same punishment. So, that vested interest, I think, makes a big difference. Anybody that has been affected by something that gets involved becomes an expert, whether it's your father with cancer of some certain kind, or your, loved one needs help with their, whatever it is, you're going to become expert. And so many of these J6ers have become experts. And it's really kind of the government's fault in a lot of ways. They made these people, put them in a position where they couldn't work. They get fired from their jobs, or they're on probation and they can't do this and that. They're on a list. Social terrorism is a thing. And so they're stuck at their house and they can't work and they can't do anything. So they have 12 or 14 or 16 or 18 hours a day to pour through their computer and to dig through videos and to help build these stories. So, I mean, this is a community effort. This next film, and like I said, Daniel, myself, AJ, Paul, Jason, Tommy, Gary, all these people witnessed these things and worked for years to put this information together. It's not like, one of these reporters that sees one of our videos go through a trial and then they write this big story about this video. And then everybody says, wow, you're amazing. Well, where'd that video come from? Who found it? Who put it in the trial? And why didn't you mention that? Because you don't want the story to come out too fast, because there's no money in it for you if you're just spreading the truth, which you should. I think that should be a free thing, but not everybody sees it like that.
No, they don't. And I'll speak on my behalf, in a sense, on my behalf, without wanting to embarrass you. But the point is, it's something that I don't understand. I don't understand this. The country is at stake here. Freedom is at stake.
Yeah.
People, 125 people are in prison who should not be in prison unless certain individuals have done certain acts. Well, no. And that's the whole point. Then we've sadly, as you quite rightly pointed out, the awful cases of people committing suicide. So when you reminded me, people have lost their houses, they've lost their cars, because they have lost their jobs. That's right. Because they have then been put in this group of people. When we've had various people say, an insurrection, it was not an insurrection. And then those people like Ted Cruz have been asked to take their words back. Well, words are dangerous, David.
They are. And this is kind of the point to most of our work. As you've been privy to the strategy behind what we do and why we do what we do. Mm-hmm. And my focus has always been, from day one, the murders on January 6th, the deaths on January 6th, the death on January 7th, and the just brutal police action toward these protesters. People never really believed that the police struck first. They never believed
absolutely
that these people went peacefully. They've been portrayed in the media for 3 years as a violent mob. But, all the video at the ellipse and even walking down and even walking onto the property, nobody's violent. So what happened between the gate and the front steps is critical. And that's really been our goal. And, even in the Massey report, when Tommy went to meet with the Massey staff there, they told us, and we laid it out, Mark. We laid out the videos, all names and numbers and badge numbers and, every gory detail of what happened on the West Side, during the police attack, all the less than lethal force, even the weaponization documents Trent has put together with Condemned USA. We put it all together. And what did Massey's staff tell us? And this should be big news, but it wasn't. They said, thanks for everything you're doing, but we're probably not going to go after the Capitol Police because we work with them and we have to see them every day. But we might go after some Metro PD. So that just tells you they don't care about the crimes. They don't care about the deaths. They don't care about the brutality. They're going to cover for their friends, when actually they should be scared to death that their friends are in their charge or that they're in their friend's charge. Think about that. The Capitol was almost if we had been bad guys, it would have been a horrible day because we had the numbers. Nobody else has ever done that. And just with sheer numbers and grit and determination, those people pushed inside because the police made them just madder than a pack of hornets. I mean, it was horrible to be on that. But, you know, people in the public, Mark, they have no idea. They see that West Tunnel where all the violence and where Roseanne was killed and where Officer Fanone did his HBO thing. And they think, wow, what a horrible thing. And those people all pushed in the Capitol and then they walked all over the place. Nobody ever made it in through the tunnel unless you were arrested like Victoria White or unless you were dead like Roseanne Boylan. That's the only way you made it through that tunnel. The police held the line there, but the public's led to believe that, man, that violent skirmish at the tunnel and all those people pushing in, and then they were all over the Capitol. No, they were going in peacefully on the east side. Or people at the mouth of the tunnel, this one little lady walks up and says, why won't you let us in? Why won't you let us in here? I make cookies for the cops back home. Why won't you let us in? He said, lady, you can't go in here. You've got to go around to another entrance. What? The cop just said there's another entrance that you can, what? So what was going on? And we show a lot of this in the film with these police. One guy talking in the hall saying, hey, this is a really sensitive room over here. And if the protesters come up here, we can punch them, we can kick them, we can do whatever to keep them from coming in. And the other cop standing next to him says, whoa, 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 hey, man, you know, most of these people are just peaceful. They're just walking around, right? We don't need to punch them and kick them and stuff, right? And the guy's like, you know, we got this over here. It's cool. We don't need you. He's like, dude, I'm all you got. And to know that there was mentality of some police that were trying to do the right thing and stay peaceful and stay calm. And then you had these knuckleheads over here wanting to beat people and hurt people. And Mark, we've discussed the racism aspect of January 6th, the perceived fear that the government and the media programmed these Capitol Police with, that this was a white supremacist mob of hateful Trump supporters or white nationalists or whatever crap they want to sell. And a lot of people bought it. And that fear, they thought we were there to eat them and kill them all. And they responded from that. And they murdered people and they maimed people and they knocked people's teeth out and gave them stitches on their skulls and horrible things, the medical issues that were caused by the police. And thank God, Mark, that the media is now having to cover because of 1,000 Days of Terror and because of the Massey Report. The media is having to say the police started it. They're having to say it looks like the crowd was peaceful until the police started shooting rubber bullets and throwing grenades in the crowd. And I even heard them say the other day, finally, like we've been saying forever, the majority of police injuries were caused by police. So if they inhaled their own spray when the wind caught it, that injury was blamed on a J6er in a court somewhere, or in total to say that there were over 140 injuries. Well, we watched 2 videos and counted over 90 people that walked in the building because the police spray went in the wind on 2 levels, over 90 people, and there were only 140 injuries. So that knocks it down considerably from 2 little videos. And I'm sure there are a dozen more that would probably take that number down to 10 or 15 cops that might have twisted an ankle in an altercation or got their finger smashed holding their shield wrong or whatever. But we saw a lot of injuries by police, spraying other police with, you know, like Officer Sicknick getting sprayed in the face. And nobody talks about that yet because they don't know. But one of the police on the line went to spray someone, a little lady, and a guy saw it and pushed his arm out of the way and he sprayed Sicknick in the face. They'll talk about that eventually when they find the video. No one listens to us or wants to get ahead of the truth and get the story out to the people because it's been hijacked for the election and they're just dripping out the information slowly. But, you know, like I say, Mark, the people deserve it faster than that. We've tried to bring it. And what I want to show in these movies is the human element, that these people aren't numbers. They're not just faces. They were literally attacked. They defended themselves. Self-defense looks like violence because it is, but it's a different kind. And when it's justified, nobody should be able to operate with impunity to just say, look, all police action was deemed objectively reasonable. Well, I saw them putting some beat downs on some people that did not look reasonable at all. I
No,
saw them
no.
shoot Ashley Babbitt. I saw them trample and beat Roseanne Moreland, spray her. The medics said there was so much spray on Roseanne's body when they got to her that it was dripping, that she was in a puddle of gas. She'd already been drugged down the hall, put on a cart, rolled down the hall, laid on the ground. The paramedics get there and they said she was in a pool. Excessive use of force all day long. And look, I've said it before, I'll say it again. I'm proud of the J6ers that they didn't murder anybody, because they were pushed as hard as you could possibly
Mm.
push somebody. They witnessed some horrific action by the police, some terrible beatdowns, and they didn't kill anybody. That shows amazing restraint and absolute respect for law enforcement, because they had every opportunity. It's like I said in Bloody Hill, if we were cannibals, we could have eaten them all in 2 bites each and gone home hungry, because there just weren't enough police. And now we're seeing other reports that say there were not enough police to control the crowd. So who controlled the crowd? The crowd did. And we've said that from day one. So it's really
Well,
amazing.
absolutely,
Yep.
absolutely. That's why suddenly there was shouts of, we back the blue, we back the blue, we support our police force.
Yeah.
That's why there was total confusion in people's what they were expressing, also what to camera as well, saying, well, what is going on? I mean, you and I, because I've met him, you and I both know other people that were nearly died there, that were saved and were dragged out. Sorry.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, in writing history,
Mm,
we put that out June 4th of 2021, just a couple of months after January 6th.
mm.
And writing history had a lot of that footage in there, especially the lady saying, we backed the blue.
Yeah, yeah,
Why
yeah.
are you doing this to us? You're
Mm,
shooting your own people,
mm,
basically.
mm,
Screaming from the crowd. You could just hear
mm,
the emotion in her voice. She's so hurt
mm,
and shocked that they would do that. But I think the reality is that the police, with their fear and being tricked, and we've said it from the beginning, Mark, and I think it's finally come to light. The Capitol Police were totally duped.
yes.
Who was in on this
Mm,
becomes the questions, but the Capitol Police were totally duped. The Metro Police were brought in as the bully, the strong arm. The National Guard was put on traffic duty to keep them out of the way, because they would have just shut the thing down immediately. And the Democrats and Republicans didn't want it shut down, because they need that for the power and control and surveillance and monies and all the things that happen. So the National Guard was deliberately kept out. And when they came in at the end of the day, finally were allowed to, after hours basically of begging for them to come in within eyesight of the building, they come in, and 7 minutes later, basically, the whole thing's done. I mean, they cleared the rest of the place out. The Capitol Metro Police had already started clearing people out. Look, when they were pushing people off the staircases and bombing them on the upper level, people just walked away. They were like, we're done with this. If this is how you're going to continue to treat us, we're leaving. And they did. And the curfew was getting closer, and people were like, this is not going to stop. These police won't stop attacking. But in the middle of these films, you're going to see that even after they shot Joshua Matthew Black in the face at
mm,
107, the crowd around him is not trying to grab cops, or when they're throwing the bombs at 121, 122, 120. Even after that, the calm crowd, stays within itself again. It doesn't just continue to go crazy. And there's this weird calm. I mean, people were being patient and just in disbelief that they would do that, and then expecting Trump to show up or whatever's going to happen with
mm.
these stages and these speakers for the permitted events. There were things that were supposed to have. There was so much confusion. And that's where it falls on the police to say, look, if you didn't leave cops out there by the curb telling people go around to the other side, or you can't go on the property or you're going to be arrested, you're not using the loudspeakers, you're not using the texting ability to tell people to leave, you can't do this. I mean, that's a confusion. And anytime there's that kind of confusion between citizens and the government, it's supposed to err to the side of the citizen. So in every single case, people should be able to say, sorry, you're bad. You didn't give clear directions. Once those first barricades were gone, Nobody knew they were there. Once that little construction fence, that temporary plastic fence was torn down, nobody knew it was there. So how can you say that any of those thousands and thousands of people, did that? And of course, if you've seen the preview for our new film that we put out months ago because we thought we'd be ready. Sorry about that, everybody. But it says they moved hundreds of barricades before the protesters got there. What are you doing? Those barricades are to divert traffic, to steer the masses in a direction. And if you've got it all set up, ready to go, leave it. But why did you come and move it all to create more confusion? To change the traffic path, to make people go to the west side instead of the east side? Because once again, that's not our fault if the police aren't out there telling you where to go. You got 1 million plus people that a lot of them had never, ever been to DC. They don't know where to go. They don't know how to get there. They're wandering. I think the big word is meandering. But that was outside and inside. People meandered all day long and got in a lot of trouble for it.
David, no, absolutely. I mean, we think about things like, National Guard refusals. We then think about the fact that Nancy Pelosi is under the walkways and there's a camera following her and all the rest. I'm not saying that anything that is not out there, because it is out there. And the concern of this seemed a total and utter setup as we look back now. Could you please remind us of how many federal agents were on the ground there?
Over 200 and counting. So, that's the reality of it. And people at first, Antifa. Oh, yeah. But FBI. And, we talked about that January 8th, 2021. I said, FBI was there. And then a couple months later, we published the video that our other friend had taken with all the agents after the effect, 30 some odd agents in FBI, when, already there, already ready to go to work, already there to go and question and get those exit interviews and help, process the people that were detained that day. It's a really amazing story when you see how it done. But questions like, when was the Gulag rented? Like, did they get that after January 6th or before January 6th? And who rented it and who got it ready to be used again? And who thought of that? And things like that. Or like Michael Leroy Bird shoots Ashley and gets put in secret military housing for 6 months or whatever, right? Well, now we learn Tarek Johnson, same thing, got put in an apartment for 6 weeks or 6 months or whatever. I've got to go watch the clip somebody sent me, but it just makes you wonder, because he was supposed to be a whistleblower against him. Why would they put him up in housing? So many questions. And like Nancy Pelosi's daughter, following him around and then trying to interview J6ers after the fact. The one J6er had the lawyer, and the lawyer set the J6er up with Alexandra Pelosi, with HBO, and said, if you're going to start doing interviews with the news and stuff, we need to get you used to it. So I got your interview set up, and this J6er's in there with Alexandra Pelosi, doesn't know who she is, talking. And they're like, Alexandra said, everybody wants to hear your story. And yeah. And it went on for a long, and she was telling the story. And at one point, Alexandra said, that's BS. Nobody's going to believe that y'all were there just to walk around and blah, blah. And the J6er said, who are you? What are you talking about? Oh, well, you don't know who I am? I'm Alexander Pelosi, whatever. Oh, this is over. What are you talking about? This scumbag lawyer had set this up. I mean, is that going to be used in a documentary? What? I mean, you really have to wonder about who's on whose team. And unfortunately, the J6ers have experienced that worse than anyone with the lawyers. The defendants don't stand a chance with a public defender, but when they get their own lawyer, they wonder if they stand a chance with them as well. There's very few that have done much of anything.
Absolutely, because you and I have that sign as two wings of the same bird politically, and then of course, as that then filters down, legally into sort of state lawyers, as I'll call them, paid by the government as government defenders for these J6 prisoners. And then, as you have laid out constantly over since January the 8th, 21, you have laid out how this is going to then unfold. And of course, and you said a very powerful thing, um, the fact that how this is being orchestrated for the election. David, we're going to be, I'm in the last sort of 5 minutes really. Can we steer in that direction? Because how do you think things are going to, I mean, you and I have discussed this, but how do you think things are going to play out next year? What can you say? What can't you say?
I see the pardon of innocence. If we can get Trump into the White House, I can 100% see that and say that with all confidence. We've worked on that, Mark, with Tamara Lee, behind
Mm,
the scenes with Pat
mm,
Scopely before he passed
mm.
away. I
Bless. Yeah,
think the pardon of innocence
absolutely.
is in order. Um, I'm liking Vivek. I think that, is that how you say his name? Vivek?
Yeah.
That little guy. He's pretty cool. He's been the J6 kind of advocate more so than anyone else, which is kind of odd and it makes you wonder. Um,
Can I just interject there? Sorry to be called a conspiracy theorist, but unfortunately, he's made most of his money, if not all his money, I think, via big pharma. I'll just put that out there. That needs more investigation, but I think that's the accusation.
it does make you scratch your head and
Mm,
wonder. And then again, did he play the market or did he have a heavier hand in what happened? These are questions that anybody
mm,
asks by anyone. But the J6 angle is really interesting for him to be such an advocate. I would love to, and we're trying to reach out to him. I've got a couple of different contacts that we want to see if he'll help us build that database we've always needed. If he's got the funding, because nobody else has been brave enough to put their money where their mouth is. And if we'd have had a server and a database and a 3D map and all the other things that some of our competitors on the other side use against us all the time, it would be great to have some of those technological advances on our team, maybe some facial ID technology and such.
mm,
It's really handy. And doing the investigation for these lawyers and such, the stophate.com website's amazing how we can cross-reference everything, that we have access to, of course, and then mix that with what we see in the government database. But somebody for, him to understand, Vivek to understand how that would work publicity wise for the J6ers in these court cases, to know that the public's being really schooled on what's actually happening and why the court cases are going the way they are. And for him to put his money out there and say, look, whether I get elected as president or not, I'm so interested in this January 6th situation that I'm willing to help fund whatever needs to be done. And this next film, I want it to be a testament that all these guys that are participants in building this film, and it's not a huge group, it's a small core group of J6ers, like I said, witnesses that actually experience this. They have put their own time, sweat, blood, tears, their own money, resources, just like us. And we've tried to just document history. Chris Burgard, Capital Punishment 1,
mm,
coming out with Capital Punishment 2 on January 6th. We were talking and he said, David, it's like, nobody's going to see our work. Not right now. And I totally understand that. He said, but I'm not doing it for right now. I'm not doing it for the clicks. I'm doing it for history, so that when people have that opportunity to go back, that they can find this and see what actually happened. And Mark, we've fallen into that, from day one as well, with writing history. Bloody Hill, 1,000 Days of
mm,
Terror. And Bloody Hill, I think, was it's really kind of strange, Mark. And so everybody knows I'm a carpenter. That's my job. That's what I do. It's what I've done for 30 years or whatever. And the first film we put out, Writing History, it was a necessity because you set me up with Dan and Mr. Griffin and got me at the Red Pill Expo. And so I wanted to make a short documentary. Yeah, there you go. There you go. So I wanted to make a short documentary so I didn't have to speak as much, so I made,
bless you. Bless you.
and they were saying, you can't show this film here. There's language, there's violence,
Mm,
we got kids in
mm,
the crowd. So that was made by me sitting over Daniel's shoulder, move
mm,
it to the left, move it to the right. The
mm,
second one we did, Bloody Hill, was me, Daniel, Sean,
mm,
Andrew,
mm,
Jade. We had, of course, 107 and Trennis Evans, with the other two voice parts and myself. and then it grew again. And it's the whole point is God keeps multiplying and bringing
Mm.
more talent to the team. And now we've got Jason and
Mm.
Paul and everybody that, even Sean's working on this one again as well. So I mean, there's so many things that play into what we do and why we do, and it's all for God and country. People don't understand that do it for money or do it for popularity or to build their thing. And I just want people to know the motives of these guys that have worked on this film are pure, and it's to get our people free. And I think that the more we can share this movie to everyone in America, I mean, every single person, I don't care what side you're on, what color you are, what your leanings or religion or faith or sex preference, I don't care. You need to see what happened. It's the closest thing to Tiananmen Square that you've ever seen in your life. It's the same basic thing. 1,000 Days of Terror will tell you how it started, and then January 6th True Timeline will show you what happened all day long and really help tie those stories together so that you understand the bits and pieces that you've seen for 3 years that look so violent. But why? But
Absolutely.
we saw people hitting police, but why? Or we saw
Mm.
people shoving a bike rack,
Mm.
but
But
why?
why?
You have
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm just going to put up your logo, stophate.com. Could you just tell us where we can all find you, where we can find your work, etc., if you don't mind, my dear brother?
Absolutely, brother. So stophate.com, it's real easy. Stophate.com/support. If you want to support our work and what we do, we don't charge anybody for anything. It's all free, but we could definitely use help in continuing what we do. Stop Hate's an acronym. Start turning off prejudice, heal attitudes through education. I hope that's a trend this coming year. I hope people understand that it's all about freedom and restoration for everyone in the country. Of course, Writing History was the first film. It's available at stophate.com as well. And you can see Bloody Hill there as well. It's about an hour and a half film, but it's like Netflix quality. Andrew Mullinex did a fantastic job with the team and putting that together. And of course, there's more research if you click on stophate.com, the J6 tab, or you can just put in /J6 or /research and get to the nitty gritty of what was happening on January 6th. There's a lot of stuff people can do to help. The calls to action, from the prayer group to letter writing to buying that book, or the second book, The Art of Confinement. The first book, American Gulag Chronicles, was
Mm.
Letters from Prison. The second book, American Gulag Chronicles, is Art of Confinement. I just saw a video of the first copy yesterday. I haven't gotten my,
Brilliant.
so I'm excited about that, and it's going to be great. But all those are available at stophate.com/J6. Just scroll down and you will see calls to action. There's probably 15 or 20 different things that people can do to help. But like I said, support our work at stophate.com/support. And we'll keep doing what we do with or without, God supplies. And
Mm.
sometimes he uses different people to help supply. Sometimes he just keeps using us, and we're okay with that. But, we can always use the help, brother.
Brilliant. And David, thank you. What I was also excited by was able to put certain pictures up and you being able to talk over them as a good prompt, but actually showing incredible, vital, important work. And I just want to say this, not because I'm thousands of miles away, but it's a real privilege for me to be able to have these conversations, and I appreciate that so much.
Well, you've been here the whole time, brother, and you've helped be that sounding board, and I've run a lot of things across your table to say good, bad, ugly, and you've always been there for me. You've been probably, I know, hands down, the biggest advocate on your side of the pond for J6ers. You can have that honor 100%, because I don't know anyone over there that's even aware of what you know. You know more because you know me and my team than anyone on that side of the pond. And we appreciate that so much. The connections that you've afforded us as a community through your friends and your willingness to share that, dude, has been just a blessing to all of us. Like Dan and everybody, Dan Happel, that, connecting the dots has been gracious. And just getting to know him because of you. That's how this works. People taking action, saying yes, and jumping in feet first. We've talked about that a lot too. And I think it's interesting to see those that do and how they're rewarded and what that looks like, and hearing those kind of success stories, and our whole thing, freedom and restoration is great, but that's where our security and our safety is, you know, and it's not a safe place unless we make it that way, and bring that back as a pillar of our society. It's not right now. And it, you
No,
know,
it's not. It's not.
freedom, you talk about freedom and you ask a J6er if we still have freedom in America, they'll tell you a totally different story than someone on the street, because theirs has already been taken. The people on the street just don't know it yet. And we're trying to get that message out so we can put an end to this, my brother. But dude, you know, I can't, from this side of the pond to you, man, I can't wait till you get back over here and take another tour, come to the house and, you know, visit, break bread. We always have a great time when you're here. And I look forward to that next time.
I look forward to that. It wasn't that long ago that I was with you, so bless you for that, and thank you. And so we're gonna round up. I just want to say thank you all for watching. David and I are going to be doing another fairly soon, but we just need to get Christmas out of the way because I want to follow up with the launch to 1,000 Days of Terror and more and more of what is going to be explained. And I know I don't have to apologize. It may seem as though we're having to reinforce and reinforce, but we are having to reinforce. Please go on to the website of stophate.com, look up American Gulag Chronicles, buy the book. There's now 2. Please do that. It's not about us. David doesn't get anything out of this, nor does the board, nor does anything, nor does anyone. The grifting by certain individuals has to stop, and justice has to be shown. It has to be there and it has to be played out, and we want all these people released. So I'm going to end with the outro. But David, my dear friend, wishing you people will see this maybe after Christmas or now, but wishing everyone a happy Christmas who's watching or come on to watch. Hopefully you've had a great time. But David, I wish you that, to you personally, to you and your family.
Well, brother, I appreciate that. I will convey that to them all. We met over here, and Merry Christmas to you, my brother. I hope people have a really blessed New Year, because it's going to be one that we have to hang on to everything we've got.
We have to. All right. Thank you for joining us tonight. God bless. Take care. Bye.